What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be going over my top 10 experiences and places to visit in the country of Japan. I think this is probably the most unique country I've ever been to. I've been, I think, 3 or 4 times now, and it's just such an interesting place. There's so much history. There's so much cool architecture. The culture is so incredible. The food is great. It's probably the most visually enhancing city I've ever been to and stimulating places. It's such a unique experience. So anyways, I'm going to do my top 10 today. I don't want to speak on the rest of Japan without having visited it. So today we're just going to be going over Tokyo and Kyoto, but let's hop right in. All right, so number 1, Mario Kart. And this is probably one of my top 5 travel experiences in my entire life. You literally get to go pick your character. You can be Mario, Luigi, Bowser, Pikachu. There's so many different characters. They have hundreds of costumes, but yeah, you essentially go pick out your costume and then you have a guide drive you around in these go-karts around downtown Tokyo. You're on the main roads, you're on the main highways, big intersections. It is so crazy. I can't believe that it's even legal, but it's such a fun experience. And one of the most important things to note on this one is if you are a tourist and you're not from Japan, you do need to get an international driver's license. It's super easy. Just go to your local AAA. It costs about $20, takes like 20 minutes, but they will not let you do this excursion without it. I've actually been able to do this 2 different times. The first time I think I was Luigi, and then this time my brother and I chose to be Pikachu, the footage you're seeing. And it was one of the funniest days ever while traveling doing this with my brother. All right, so next up, number 2 is going to be the iconic robot show. And this is kind of one of those must-dos if you're a tourist in Japan. It is obviously a very touristy attraction, which I'm not normally into, but it is the most insane, I think it's 90 minutes of your life. You go into the show, you go into a waiting room where they play some music and you can get some drinks and some food, and then they take you down to where the robot show actually is, and the whole place, there's just blinking lights everywhere. There's craziness going on. There's neon things. It's so visually stimulating. It's such a insane experience. And then you get down there and it's kind of hard to explain what you're about to go into. I've gone to the show 3 times, all with different people. So when I go with someone and it's their first time, I kind of just say, get a few drinks, enjoy. It's a very different experience, but it's funny, it's enjoyable, and it's a very unique thing to Tokyo. All right, so next up is going to be Harajuku. And in Tokyo, there's so many different bustling little pockets in the city. There's Ginza, there's Shibuya, Shinjuku, Harajuku, and Harajuku is just one of those really, really cool little pockets of neighborhoods where there's tons of really awesome shops, tons of really good food. There's a lot of really cool kind of just streets. They have all these little different things. There's this one kaleidoscope kind of elevator place, and it's such a cool thing to just kind of see. But yeah, this neighborhood is kind of just fun for walking around, visiting the cafes, getting some good food, and kind of just, go shopping for the afternoon. All right, next up, and I am apologizing in advance in case I say this wrong, but Arashiyama Bamboo Grove, and this is actually in Kyoto, so it's just, I think, about a 2-hour high-speed train ticket to get over to Kyoto from Tokyo. This is definitely one of the main attractions. It's just this beautiful bamboo forest, and these bamboo trees just tower so freaking high. and there's these really cool kind of walkways throughout it. So it's a really cool place to get some photos, and it's just not every day you get to see such a unique type of tree, and the entire forest is just filled with tons and tons of bamboo trees. It's a super, super cool place. I would say get here early though. This is a very popular spot. When I went, it was for around sunrise, and the photos weren't actually that great for sunrise, but you know, by 8 a.m. this place was flooded with people, so I would recommend getting there early. All right, next up is Shibuya Crossing, and this is probably one of the most well-known spots in Tokyo. So this is the busiest intersection in the world, and it's kind of hard to comprehend how busy and crazy this is, but the entire intersection goes in like 8 different directions, you know, like all these different walkways, and it's so organized. Like everyone knows where they're going, everyone knows when they can go, you know, there's no jaywalk or anything like that, but 24 hours a day, every single day of the year, this intersection is bustling with thousands and thousands of people. It is insane. All right, next up, number 6 is gonna be cafe hopping. And this is another thing that is pretty unique to Japan. So there's so many different types of cafes in this country. So if you're gonna be walking around any of the cool little neighborhoods in Tokyo, so there's tons and tons of hedgehog cafes, otter cafes, chinchilla cafes, there's maid cafes. There's so many different variety of animal cafes. It's super interesting, and you know, you get to grab a coffee, you get to feed them. It's really nice and really fun. There's even like owl cafes. That was like one of the weirder places I've been, because these owls will just stare at you from point blank, like 2 feet away. But it's pretty funny and very unique. All right, next up, and sorry again if I butchered this, but Fushimi Inari Tashi Shrine. Most tourists would probably just call this the Red Gates of Kyoto. And this place is just really cool. There's some beautiful, beautiful temples, and then there's a pretty decent amount of walking paths where you're kind of just going through all of these red gates. You know, there's like the grand entrance, and then you're actually going through all of the individual gates. We actually had such a short amount of time here that we weren't able to get a tour or learn much about the history of this place, but it is a very unique place, and it was very cool for photos, and it was just really interesting getting to walk through all of these red gates. Next up, Tsukiji Fish Market, and this is kind of in the area of Ginza. It's a super cool spot. It's probably the freshest fish market I've been to in the entire world. You know, you're supposed to go there extra early because they have the big tunas that they catch in the morning, and then you get to come and see that. It's like the biggest tuna in the world. It's insane. But yeah, all of these vendors and all of these Michelin star little sushi spots open up at like 6 a.m. So, you know, you can go walk around, try a bunch of stuff, get a bunch of really insane sushi, like ramen, dumplings, and like Wagyu beef. There's so many options. This is a really, really good foodie spot. Definitely recommend going extra early. Next up is Shinjuku, and this is kind of similar to Harajuku or the Shibuya area, but this is just a spot where at night this place really just lights up. You know, it's busy throughout the day, but at night this is just such a cool place to kind of walk around. There's tons of gaming places, there's tons of incredible food. The streets are all busy. There's so many lights everywhere that it's a really stimulating place and just a really cool walk to go in the evening. It makes for some really great photos, and this is actually where the robot show is. Alright, and lastly, number 10, I would just recommend getting lost walking in downtown Tokyo. Like I said, it's probably the most unique city in the most unique country I've ever been to. There's so much to do, and the subway is an experience in itself, and it's pretty hard to figure out when you don't speak the local language, but it is a fun experience. And then there's, taxis and Ubers, but, part of Tokyo is just kind of getting lost in these never-ending, beautiful streets where there's just so much to do. So highly recommend that if you have some time to kind of just wander around. And there's so many other places, these are just my top 10, but highly recommend, checking out all that Tokyo does have to offer. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. I will see you on the next video. I hope you enjoyed.